Hello and welcome to this video from Amateur Photographer. My name is Will Cheung, and in this video I'm going to talk about a new software called Skylum Aperty. Aperty has been designed for people photography. So if you do weddings, you do studio portraits, you do environmental portraits, this could be the software for you. The thing is, with photography, generally you have to work on the files afterwards. So Aperty is a raw editor, but it's when you go into the retouching functions that it becomes really powerful and amazing. So I've had it on my computer for the last few days and I've really enjoyed using it, and I have to say it's really easy to learn too. So in this video what I'm going to do is walk through some of the key features in Aperty, work on some pictures, basically to show you what you can do, and the rest is up to you. So anyway, hope you enjoy the video. I've got Aperty open on the screen behind me. Let's crack on. Okay, I've downloaded the software and this is the opening interface. Actually, it's not quite the opening interface. I've cheated already because I brought in a project. Aperty is available for Windows and Mac, and it can be used as a standalone app, or you can use it as a plugin through Photoshop, Lightroom and macOS Photos. Whatever the style of your people photography, and whether you're shooting for yourself or for a client, the odds are your shots will need retouching of some level. This might be simple stuff like an adjustment to white balance, or you might be pulling highlights or boosting shadows. But the thing is about Aperty is it is a full raw editor, so you can do all that stuff without actually getting out the software. Equally, if you prefer, you can do all that sort of basic, if you like, raw editing in Lightroom or Photoshop first, then bring your pictures in for the retouching power that Aperty has. So let's dig into the tools you get in Aperty. I've already mentioned the fact that I brought in a project of some random portrait pictures, and this is this here. So if I double click on this, it opens up. This is the main interface. As you see, the main picture. I'm on a 32-inch screen here, but the picture is, really nice and big. Makes it really easy to work with. And there's the thumbnail strip along the bottom. So as you click along the thumbnail, obviously the image changes. And you notice that these are all raw files. It's identified if you look at the base here, and it takes 1 or 2 seconds for the files to sharpen up when you go from image to image, like this for instance. There we go, sharpens up there. Now there's various tools to work with. We'll go through those in a bit more detail, but we'll start with some basic stuff. Along the bottom here, the bottom right, you can view the image at a range of magnifications. You can go up to, believe it or not, up to 3000%. So let's do that here. So what it looks like. Wow, that's the lady's nostril at 3000%. If you don't want to work at that sort of level, then good luck to you. If you want to work 100%, that's fine. And if you want to dig a little deeper, that's 200%. And you just navigate as you would expect to do by just clicking on the picture and moving around. So let's just put this back to fit to screen. The tool next to this is this one here, where you can actually divide the picture into two. So you basically see your adjustments before and after, and that's really handy. But if you prefer, the eye icon here means you just click on and off and you see the before and after adjustments across the whole image, and that's what I personally prefer to use. Now if you don't want the thumbnail showing, that's that icon here. If you click on it, the thumbnails go. Okay, from the bottom right, let's go all the way to the top left of the interface. There's a folder icon here, which if you click on that, it takes you back to your projects. You've seen how that works. The folder next to that is if you want to import projects. There's 2 tools next to that which are really very useful. There's an erase and clone tool. If I click on that, you'll see that on the right hand side it brings in the parameters of the tool, and next to that is a dodge and burn tool, and again you get the parameters on the right hand side. Okay, let's now move down to the bottom left. There's a heart icon, which is where you can indicate your pictures that you want to keep, that you want to prioritize, and the cross next to that is for deleting pictures. So it's pretty basic stuff down there. Across the top of the interface there's some EXIF data for the picture you took, so you can see what ISO you use, your focal length and your exposure details. But moving to the right hand side, and this is where the really interesting stuff happens. You can see here that Essentials is showing at the moment. I can make this fly in and out by hitting this icon, make the working area even bigger. But Essentials is where you can do all the raw development. So there's white balance control you see here, exposure, and it's just like every other software in that if you make an adjustment, it changes in real time. So these are the core tools for raw development. We've got other tools too. It's one-click black and white conversion, which is really handy, and you've got lots of color sliders here so you can control the look of your black and white. And as we go towards the bottom of the palette here, you've got noise reduction as well. So this is where all the magic happens in terms of raw development. Okay, before we dig into the retouching menu in a bit more depth, let's just cover off the icons we've got sitting at the top here. The top one is for presets, where you can create your own, make your own favorites. Know that you can probably buy them as well and just bring them in and call them up. The next one is for masking, so if you want to control which part of the images you want to work on. There's a simple crop tool, but very, very useful, of course. The fourth one down is essentials, and that's a raw development panel we've already covered. Then the next one down is the retouch panel, and you see the headings here: people, skin, eyes, mouth, makeup, and body/skin. People, intriguingly, you've got the words here just coming soon. So Skylum obviously has something planned here. I know not what, but we'll hear about it in due course. But under each arrow though, if you click each arrow, you'll see the details of each adjustment that you can make. So with skin, you can do blemish removal, and as usual, the sliding scale starts at 0 at the far left hand side, 100 on the far right, and when you do this, the preview of the image changes. Just be a little careful with some of these tools because you can overdo it, but obviously it's entirely up to you and obviously what your client needs if you are shooting for a client. So skin is quite useful, obviously. Eyes, I love this tool. You can actually change the colour of somebody's iris. So let's pick a colour. Let's say we're going to change the colour of this lady's eyes to honey. Click on honey, and a fraction of a second later you see that the colours of her eyes have changed significantly. And let's just have a closer look, so you can see the difference there. Let's click on and off that so you can see. Whether you use that tool, I don't know, but it's rather fun, isn't it? But you can also do things like just whiten the eyes, enhance the eyes, remove any redness. For the mouth, you can whiten teeth and brighten teeth. Again, as I mentioned before, just be a little wary in how much you use here, because you can produce pictures that look rather artificial. Makeup is a huge menu. So here you can control the look of the blusher, the eyeliner, the lips. Let's try lips. Let's increase the saturation of this lady's lips. I'm going to go to 100, and you see how intense that red has become. And also note that there's no selection needed here. There's no clicking around the eyes or the teeth or the nose to change things. The software's AI just picks it all up. I'm going to return the saturation to 0. Okay, so that's the makeup menu. Let me just close that. And then we should return this lady to 100%. And the final item here is for body skin. So for instance, you might have just done a boudoir shoot and your client wants to look at her very best. You can use that to smooth out any imperfections. So really powerful tools under the retouch menu. If I go to the next one, which is Reshape, this is where you can sculpt various features of your subject. So you've got here face, eyes, nose, mouth and body. Sculpting tools, again, you need to be careful how you use them, in my view. Entirely up to you, but of course in this TikTok generation, some people go for quite dramatic sculpting changes. Again, as we've seen in the retouch menu, there's no clicking involved, so you can just use the sliders. So why don't we just try the shape of this lady's eyes, and if you look at her eyes, let's maybe do this again by increasing magnification so you can see what goes on. Let's say we'll change the shape of her eyebrows arch. So you can see as I'm moving the slider, the eyebrows are changing shape. Now how far you go with this, it's entirely up to you. I'd imagine some of the controls are really very useful. Eyebrows distance, let's try that. So the preview just took maybe half a second to change, and then the eyebrows parted a bit like the Red Sea. So let's go the other way. Now you can see there's some changes here which don't look natural, and that's why I basically encourage people not to overdo it. But some people do. It's entirely your call. It's your photography, your client, your software. Let me put that back to 0. Okay, so that's a quick look at Aperty's interface and the tools on offer. Let's get a couple of pictures and see what we can do with it. I've worked through my thumbnails and seen which pictures I want to work on, so I picked a few. Now, if you use Lightroom, you're probably familiar that if you hit P, you flag a picture. If you hit X, you delete it from the catalogue. And if you hit U, you unmark it. In Aperty, those same keys apply here. So I hit P to pick this. You can see down here on the bottom left that the heart symbol is solid, which shows I've actually picked this as a favourite. Like I said, so you can hit P, U or X. So this is a raw picture, and it was taken in interior lighting, hence it's quite orange. So I'm going to use Aperty's raw editor to sort this in the first place. So the exposure's kind of okay, but I'll do that in a minute. I'll do the temperature first. So on a temperature slider, I could use the dropper, but I prefer to do things manually. So I'm going to give her more of a natural complexion, leave her a bit of a tan, up the exposure a little bit, just to brighten it just a tad, and maybe just pull in the highlights. But I don't want to work the raw editor side of things too much because I want to show you the retouch tools in Aperty. So now I'm going to click on the retouch palette, which is that human figure, and I'm going to use the blemish removal tool. Now I'm going to zoom into a higher magnification, that's 100% here. If you've got a mouse with a roller wheel on the top, you can just do that. So I'm trying to make you feel ill, but I just go backwards and forwards and do that. But so you've got random percentages here. I'm old-fashioned, like do things manually. So that's 100%. I'm now going to the skin menu of the retouch palette. Let's see, I'm just going to start at an extreme point, but sometimes it's good to go for the extreme and then work backwards. So look, I've gone blemish removal 100%. The software is just taking a fraction of a second to catch up, and you can see the significant improvement. To show you the improvement, if I hit the eye icon, click and hold on the eye icon, that's before, that's after. So that's before, that's after. The other way of checking before and after is here on this menu button here, and you can see the picture is now divided in half. I can actually move the image, or I can move the cursor. So before is obviously on the left hand side, after on the right. So let's change that. So I think that's a fair result, done very, very quickly. So if you've got a model whose complexion isn't perfect and you just want to improve it, I haven't worked it too hard. I haven't worked on the eyes, but they look okay. I haven't worked on the lips. So I'm happy with that result. The next picture I've chosen is an outdoor portrait, and the sunlight has been supplemented by flash. The flash, as you can see, is rather too strong. It's a bit slightly hot, but it's okay. I can control it in Aperty's RAW, that's fine. The background is a shipping container, and the metal rods, the locking rods here, are probably a bit too prominent, so I'm going to work on that as well. So let's start with the RAW side of things. I'm just going to increase exposure just a little bit for the shadows, like that. And now I'll use the highlight slider to bring the highlights back down. So that's okay, that's a better exposure. And now I'm going to go into the retouch menu. I'm going to increase the magnification image so you can see what's going on. So with the blemish removal tool, if I move this to 100, boom, you see the software just took about a second to catch up. And if I hit the eye, this is after, that's before, that's after, that's before. So you can see very, very quickly I've improved the picture in Aperty. I'll do some skin smoothing as well. Let's move that to 50 odd. Use the eye again to compare the before and after. So that's after and that's before. So I'm working quickly here because, if you've got hundreds of pictures to work on, which a lot of portrait photographers will have, you don't want to linger too much and overwork an image. I'm just going to put some strength in her lips. I'm going to use a darken slider. Let's go quite heavy on that. I've gone to 100, and I'm also going to use the saturation slider. Let's do that to 100 too. Again, I can use the eye icon. You can see the before and after. So that's after, that's before. So the difference is quite subtle, it's quite natural, and it's all done without selecting the lips, which is brilliant. There's no clicking around the lips to select them first. So that's after, that's before. That's rather cool. Now the eyes are good, and you can see that she's got nice eyes, but I'm just going to add a bit more in the way of highlight. So I'm using the the iris flare slider. Let's go quite strong on that. And you can see I've brightened up her iris. Let's do the before and after thing again. That's after, that's before. And you see the eyes, by using the iris flare slider, are much brighter. Probably too strong. Let me just tone that down a little bit. Okay, so that's better. Now I'm going to go back to fit the screen. So I think I've improved her. She looks much better. Let's work on the background. The background tool is under the creative menu rather. And if I go to the portrait bokeh slider here, it's 0 by default. And because it's 0, the tools underneath are also grayed out. Now, as soon as I start moving the portrait bokeh slider, the background items spring into action, as you can see there. So now that the background tools are active, I can start fiddling around with the sliders. Brightness is exactly that. So I can darken it. The background will darken. It will just take a fraction of a second to catch up. There we go. Or I can go super bright. I've gone the other extreme to 100, and the software is doing its work. And there we go. That's over bright. So that's to show you the brightness slider. I'll probably just darken it a little bit. I'm not going to go too extreme. So this is -27, and I'm also going to diffuser. This is where the portrait bokeh comes in. So the moment it's only 11%, which I'd randomly left when I made the background tools active. Let's go all the way to 100 to see what the effect is. Again, the software will work its magic. Doesn't take too long, and then suddenly boom. Let's do the eye icon thing. That's after, that's before. Now 100 is very strong, but I wanted to show you the effect of it. Let's slide it down to something a bit more natural or more acceptable. Let's gone down to 39. Wait for the software to catch up. When it's working hard like that, the software does take a second or so to work, but it's not too horrendous. So we've blurred the background a bit more, but not too much. What we have noticed though is if you hit the eye icon again, I can show you. You can see that the hair, which is, let's magnify it to show you even better. Hang on, take it to that. Now if I do the before and after, you can see that the bokeh has affected the hair, which was popping out in various places, and actually it's quite nice. But you can actually correct that. You can actually control that. There's an edges correction slider here. So if I move that to the right, again, give the software just a second to catch up. You can see that the edge actually looks a bit too obvious. So you can control how the background and the subject interact by using the edges correction slider. I'm going to turn it down a bit so it doesn't look like she's been cut out with a standing knife and plonked in front of a background. And let's go back to view on screen. So I can see that the cutout is still, it's not too bad. Maybe I'll take it down more, adjust the background a bit more. As often with these things, it takes a bit of fiddling around, but that's okay. Once you get used to the software and how far you can go, then you can work it much more quickly. Depth correction, let's see what that does. It's at 0 at the moment. Let's move it to 100. Give the software just a fraction to work it. Okay, let's sharpen up the background. Let's go to the other extreme. That's one of the fun things of software when you first get hold of it. Just see what the software is capable of and see the effect. I don't know. See, it's gone. See, going to -100. The background's gone completely. That's amazing. So it's a combination of using how much bokeh, how much depth correction and how much edges correction to use to get a balance effect which looks effective without looking too photoshopped, to use that word. That's okay. So now I've got portrait bokeh at 33, depth correction at -37, and edges correction at 18. That's okay. Let's do the before and after thing. So I hit the eye. So this is after, that's before. That's after, that's before. I mean, I could carry on tinkering for a long time, but I'm going to call a halt to that because I've done the job I want, which is kill the background a bit. That's actually, sorry, even while I'm talking, I'm thinking I should do that and just darken it a bit more so the model stands out even more. So I think I'll stop at that. So I've diffused the background, controlled the highlights, brightened her eyes, smoothed her complexion, and made her lips a bit more definite. So that's after, and that's before. That's okay. I mean, because I've been talking while I've been working, it's probably taken longer than it should have done. But really, it's only a work of a few seconds. And Aperty is very powerful, and it gives you such control without any selections. Brilliant. For my final picture in this overview of Skylum's Aperty software, I'm going to use this studio portrait. I'm not going to worry too much about the raw side of the processing side. I'm just going to do the retouch stuff. So I'm in the retouch menu already. And I'm thinking what I want to do is sort out her legs. I mean, the poor model had been bitten by bugs or something the week before, so she still had some scars. And normally what I would do, of course, in Photoshop or Lightroom is get the retouch tool or the clone tool and get rid of those marks. But in Aperty, I'm just going to try, go to body skin at the bottom here, and I want to move the body skin smoothing to 100. See what happens. And to make it clear so you see what's going on, let's increase it to 200%. So the smoothing tool has done its job. Let me hit the eye icon for, this is after, that's before. Wow, brilliant. That saves me a lot of work. Now, I'm not familiar with this tool, so I'm going to try details. Now, details, let's take it to 100%. See what happens. It's brought back, let me do the before and after thing. There we go, it's brought back the marks I've just got rid of. So why not I take details to 0? Lovely, perfect. Now if I do the before and after, that's after, and that's before. Excellent. Happy with that. Now I can work on the makeup and face. Now I'm just wondering, before the makeup, shall I work on the eyes? The eyes are a little dark, so let's go to eyes first. So I'm up here, eyes first, eye whitening. So let me slide that all the way. That's 100. I'm also going to add some lens flare. That's the beauty of Aperty. Everything works really quickly. The slider is very intuitive. It's not difficult to use. Let me try highlight enhancement. I'm learning my way around the software. Eye enhancement. Oh, that's quite nice. So for reference, I've got eye whitening to 100, eye enhancement to 52, and I've got some iris flare to 56. That's okay. It's strong, but it's okay. On her mouth, I'm just going to whiten her teeth. I mean, you can't see much of her teeth anyway, but let's just brighten them up a little bit. So up go the sliders. I'm up to about 60. I don't want to go too far because it looks unnatural. That's alright. And finally, I'm just going to work on her makeup. Now, I'm just going to try the highlight slider, see what that does. And what it does is brighten her cheekbones. So if I go, let me go to 100, and you see how pronounced now her cheekbones are. Too strong, so let's pull it back a little bit, but leave some. It's giving her face a bit more definition. And I can feather it maybe, so it softens the look. Okay. Let me do the after and before. The difference it makes is amazing. And it doesn't take that long. And the result looks very, very good. Let me just go back out to full the screen. I've done what I wanted. I've improved her legs. I've brightened her look so she's got much more pronounced, and the eye highlights are much brighter. That's okay. I'm happy with that. Anyway, thank you for joining me for this overview of Skylum's Aperty software. It's an impressive bit of kit, I have to say, and for sprucing up your people pictures efficiently, effectively, smoothly, without any headaches in terms of learning the software, I was really quite taken by it. Now, if you're watching this video before the 7th of November 2024, you can pre-order it because that's the official launch date. And the beauty of it is, if you do pre-order it, it's available for a special price. It's a subscription-based software, and it costs £169 a year, or $199 a year. Now, if you go for the pre-launch offer, you can get it at a real special price, and that's basically £169 or $199, but that's for 2 years. Awesome. That's really great value. Now, if you're watching this video after the launch event, the 7th of November launch date, I'm afraid the subscription price goes up to £249 a year or $299 a year. So if this is a software that is interesting you and you do a lot of people photography and you want to save lots of time and make your retouching so much easier, then go visit the Skylum software website now and get your order in. Anyway, enough of the sales. Just to say thank you for joining us on this preview. Hope you've enjoyed it, and all the best. Take care.